Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
We made it.
Nick's broken his signal.
Yeah, it's not looking good, Nick. Limping into 2023.
Oh no! Seriously? Can you not? You can't see me?
Can't see
Yeah,
you.
we can.
Yeah.
we just...
No, I always look like that.
I'm turning my input down. Your input is quite high there, Bren, I feel as well. What do you think, Nick?
Oh, is it? Am I dalking? Have I done that horrible thing again?
You're Daleki. That's exactly the word I'd use. Excellent word for it.
If that's the case, don't forget this is what happened before.
I'd like to remember what Pete was telling us, but I can't. I'm sorry, Pete. Hi, everybody. Coming in here and hearing us fix our sound. The problem is, guys, is that we don't really get a full effect of the sound until we get going. So we do have to make beats here as we start off. But welcome to 2023, everybody. Great to see us all back again. I am turbocharged and extra large here. I've had 2 weeks off and I am chomping at the bit to get back into work. I was dying to start yesterday, but I wasn't allowed. Bank holiday, which I didn't see coming, so I was a bit depressed. But I just love getting back to work after a break. Do you guys dread it?
No, I love being able to have some control over the minute by minute workings of the day. Whereas when you've got kids and family, forget it. It's just chaos.
You just wake up and you ask your partner, what are we doing today? and you hope it's not too bad. That's how your Christmas goes. Oh, we're going to your family today. Oh, not bad. Okay, that's a good one. Anyway, that's it.
How about you, Brent?
If you can't, so sorry about my sound. If it goes up and down, I'll come out and go back in and all the rest of it. But if you can hear me okay, just put a thumbs up. My first favourite, I think after detox, is been I was just saying to Connor before you came on, a little bit one of those, sat down in a meeting and then got given some things to read for results and stuff, and just went into a blinding headache of I can't read that. It's just like, that's detox for you. Yeah. So I've just treated myself with some belladonna. Marvelous treatment for blinding headaches, and that's made me just about able to read what's going up on the right hand side of our screen. Wow, but do beg your pardons if things aren't quite up to speed. I've not been doing a lot today, and thanks, Connor, for doing the post for this evening.
Yeah, good on you. Yeah. Good on you.
I have to say, you actually said, Bren, Connor, have you got that picture you said you were going to do? I was out and about at the time. I was like, oh God, no. I sprinted home. I put that together in a minute. But listen, you can see scrolling across the bottom, patreon.com/Raw Pet Medics. For anybody that can, we really appreciate your help through 2022. It's been great. And it's been a nice slow grow, and it really helps things our side. And we deeply appreciate anything you can do there. Price for a cup of tea, a pint, a month is wonderful for us. If you can, great. If you can't, doesn't matter. We're going to be here. FOC as usual. That's what we do. You'll also catch our podcast. This is all being done reasonably professionally, and we are in many, pretty much all your podcast places.
Could I just interrupt you there? Sorry. Very professionally. Thank you, Pete. We love you to bits.
Oh, hey, listen, that's not about Pete.
Pete is professional. We just do what we do. That's the best thing.
Nobody's questioning Pete. Nobody's questioning Pete is polishing turds every single week. So I mean, he's a gem. But no, that was not about you, Pete. But and you'll find us. And guys, it really helps if you vote for our podcast. There, we're actually second in a lot of places. Second in Ireland. Second in we're high up in Canada, and we were second in Trinidad and Tobago.
Trinidad Tobago.
Please, can we go to Trinidad? I would love that. That's got to be on the world tour. That's just.
So that helps, and usually that's done if your podcast allows you to vote or give you stars or like things. We would appreciate your help there, because that's great. We would love to top a couple of those lists. It'd be nice. It's usually like in a pet section or whatever, but it's still it helps, you know, and it's a nice little feeling that you start to top a few lists. So if you can do that we deeply appreciate that. But yeah, guys, so we were going to do tonight, considering the first show of the year, and probably slightly less about dogs, or if you want yours to include dogs. You know, whether you're into resolutions or not, it's probably a good time to assess and plan. I mean, there's nothing like writing a few bits in your diary and saying, I need to do that and get that done. In fact, that's one of my points. But what would anybody like to start off? I was saying I've actually got 5 prepared, guys. Not verbatim, but would you like to do a few ideas each of resolution-y ideas or health and wellness tips? That's what I was hoping for tonight. I am more than happy to proceed. Should you guys want a couple of minutes to reassess?
Go for it. I'm so hanging on my edge of my seat to listen to what you're going to be doing to us.
It is. Hang on. So Connor, you've got 5 resolutions. Is that what you're saying? You've got 5 resolutions.
Are they my resolutions? They're not really my resolutions. I'm helping everybody else with their resolutions. I'm not making any, to be honest. I know I am making some resolutions myself, but everybody's going to be, you know, everyone's got their own ideas, you know, for sure. For example, I haven't had a drink in a couple of days. I'm not eating any dirty sweets and whatnot. And for me, that is quite a feat because I have been pigging out the last 2 weeks and it's not easy. But as you come into January, the first few days is easy enough to get off this stuff. So I have a couple of little tips. Can I just do my first one just because it's a good one and it'll set off a little conversation? I don't know about you guys, but I feel like there has been quite a bit of sickness around. I'm definitely sensing that. And I have had, in the last 3 or 4 or 5 months, a few people around me have had some very worrying diagnoses. I am definitely seeing that. I'm sure some of you guys out there are seeing that too. You're hearing of it, and there's some. That's just what I feel. I just feel that. But somebody very close, 2 people very close to me, my age, and I was just thinking, do you know what we should do? Resolution number 1. Why would you wait until you get bad news before you start eating the green milkshakes and doing the healthy things? You know, like some of the stuff is so simple. Let's pretend you get a cancer diagnosis. And the very first thing after you talk to your consultant and hear what the plan might be there, when you start looking at, you know, conventional kind or non-conventional alternative practices like eating healthy, that's usually the first thing that comes up. And like putting these shakes together are so simple. For example, and I'm not saying this is the one for cancer, by the way. I'm just saying that if you're at home, you can have any bits of fruit and veg from the fridge, okay? Like, I mean, you can have a basis of an apple. An apple is a great way of sweetening up the veg. You can throw in a tiny bit of carrot, a tiny bit of broccoli, a tiny bit of anything into it. That's your bit of veg. You can throw in good quality pumpkin seeds. You can throw in a little packet of organic flaxseed and nut meal, which I got from the Organic Health Shop. That gets a tablespoon in there. You can crackle in a probiotic, because a probiotic for the next week or two, you've been feeding the wrong bacteria over Christmas. You've been giving them loads of sugar, pumping in loads of booze, sugar, and you're growing the wrong garden. So if you want to have a little probiotic, now's a good time to do it. You might not put that in your shake. You might take it separately, but a probiotic to get things going again as well. And so put the good healthy things in the shake and put in the antioxidants, the good quality dried blueberries, you know, any of the cool little compounds that you think might be a healthy addition that you said, God, I wish I was eating that every day. Those things are available. They're delivered to your door in 24 hours, guys. And you make up this shake according to any kind of recipe that you like. You put in a spoon of yogurt and you just neck this thing, okay? Don't make it too sweet. Don't lash it full of apple juice or, you know, that kind of thing. It doesn't need to be sweet. You're not going for the tastiest thing you ever ate in the day. You're going for a healthy blast of antioxidants and eating that once every day. Why do we wait until we get bad news before we do things like that for ourselves? I think that is one of the top things I'd recommend. And then you can also tweak those for your liver, for your kidneys. You might, like Bren might want to do a liver detox for whatever reason, or somebody might want to look after their kidneys. You can add in kidney bits or liver bits. The recipes are all online. That's my number 1 resolution. I'm going to start doing that every morning. A good treat for my body every morning. Nicholas.
Okay, Brady, I did this. When I first met Ellie, so kind of 13-ish years ago, I was Mr. Smoothie, and I was doing some herb stuff, as it were. No doubt.
That's the only way you could get hold of Ellie, because she's just such a dish. So, you know, from a point of view.
That came out wrong. It just dates it because she kind of went into this whole thing about smoothies and what have you. And there was a guy called James somebody who was the smoothie king. Yeah, he's just like, if anything stood still for longer than about 3 seconds, he would put it in a blender and neck it. And I've discussed this with herbalists and with nutritionists and what have you. And the individual components are fantastic. Blueberries, and spirulina, and chlorella, and vegetables, and apples, and what have you. However, the other side of that is that you're taking them all in one go. It would take you 40 seconds to neck a glass like that. Whereas if you ate the individual components, it would probably take you an hour or two to get through an apple and a carrot and some blueberries and some broccoli and some maybe an hour. Okay, and so the impact on your blood sugar, even though it's not a sweet thingy, on your blood sugar, and therefore insulin, therefore pancreas, is really quite substantial, because you're doing an hour's meal in 40 seconds. So I totally hear what you say, but just to give you the other side of that, because I was exactly going down this line. It's like, well, hey, I can get my 5 or 7 a day in 40 seconds in the morning. Big win. Yeah. But actually, when you talk to the people who really know about this stuff, they are not doing smoothies. They are eating the best quality food they can possibly get hold of, and they're chewing it, and they're, and it's going in the front door.
Yeah, like I think I do agree with that. I wouldn't be looking at the fruit and veg content, lashing it full of all different fruits, and that's not really what I'm about. I'm using it as a vehicle to put in the 4 or 5 or 6 little powders and kind of things that I would say I wish I was taking that on a daily basis, and just to neck it. Yeah, I don't think that filling it full of oranges and grapes and all that sort of stuff, that's not going to work for you. I don't think there's a whole lot of high calorie, high insulin spiking vegetables that go into smoothies. I mean, you know what I mean? If you're putting dark greens into a smoothie, you're not getting an insulin spike off that, or a piece of broccoli. You'd be all day eating a broccoli milkshake trying to get it. But I hear what you're saying, and I'm not trying to do it as a meal replacement and all. And I'm using it as a vehicle to get these 4, 5, 6 sexier things into me. And I feel like, yes, why wait to put in the antioxidants, buckthorn, seed buckthorn, and all this kind of weird stuff that's like, oh, I wish I was taking that. Astaxanthin, a golden turmeric paste is anti-cancer. How often do we actually take that? Never. You wait until something goes, okay, maybe not golden turmeric paste, but you know what I mean? There's these cool little foods that are out there. Anyway, that was my number one, and I'm definitely going to start doing that. And
I would definitely say, the thing that we drop off most is when, we can't manage this, every day, and then we stop doing it once or twice, and then then that ends up a whole week of not doing it, and then it ends up being a month of not doing it. Guys out there, a little bit of psychology. Apparently it takes 21 times to actually get into a way of doing it every day. So 21 days you need to have it down, and you need to get somebody, usually it's your better half, to provoke you into having that and making sure you actually stick to it. After 21 days, you'll probably do it naturally. The second thing for compliance, don't make it the same shake every day. So I would say take all of those things that you said, a lot of great ideas, spirulinas, all of those things, but actually break it down into different smoothies so that you have, and just make them with ice or coconut milk or something like that as your base. And as Nick says, don't put the sugar parts in. So just literally get those powders that you can get, the extracted powders like the blueberry powder, or they do raspberry, they do sea buckthorn, they do all sorts of great things out there. Even blackcurrant, the anthocyanins in those are great, anti-cancer properties there as antioxidants. So really, just try and make it slightly different each time you do it. And you're probably going to find that compliance is far easier to maintain, because you will get bored if it's the same brown sludge, which when you mix all of those greens and blues and reds together, it just ends up being a really weird tasting brown sludge. So I'd definitely say just mix in some different options, and occasionally use some frozen berries as an option instead of the ice. That's certainly fine.
The frozen blueberries are amazing. They're also wild blueberries. They're actually bilberries, those frozen blueberries that you buy. That's what those powders are. And you buy them from the frozen section of the supermarket. And yeah, they're fantastic. They don't taste very sweet, mind you, but you just use a small amount for the effect. Yeah, absolutely.
Penny mentioned here moringa. I've never come across moringa. Have you guys come across moringa?
Yeah. I'm going to nip off and get this group of powders and bring them up to you in a moment. I'm getting very tempted. I got given, Connor said, "Oh, you've got to have 5 things around you that you're going to think about bringing into your diet." It's just like, oh yeah, well I've got a few, but then I've remembered all the powders are downstairs, so I might just run off and get them in a moment.
And so the way you would do it with the smoothies, guys, as opposed to having these all over the place, is that you just have a little jar and you say, well, this is how much I need for the week, and you put them in. So I have a mix. I've got good quality pumpkin seeds, organic European pumpkin seeds. I've got organic flaxseed powder. It's actually a flaxseed and nut mix, organic nut mix. It like the stuff you'd buy in Aldi, essentially, except it's an organic version, I hope. And so I just mix that all up, and it essentially turns to purple because that's the dried blueberry. And I just put tablespoons of that into whatever little shake, a bit of yogurt, and then 1 piece of fruit or whatever. And if there's a bit of errant broccoli or carrot that needs to go in, I'll lash that in because I kind of feel like, it's a bit of fiber. A frozen cube of spinach can go in, but that doesn't make things taste nice at all. But anyway, that was my number one. I'm going to start eating like I have a bad diagnosis. That's my tip for January. I'll let you know how I'm going. What about you, Nick?
I would say why? Yeah, I completely agree. Why wait to get sick to do the things that make you healthy? Yeah. So the way I'm speaking to a mate of mine, Alan Robinson, and he said, very wise man, and he said the way you need to prioritize these things is be careful about what you think, what you drink, what you eat, and what you do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 1 is what you think, because that will determine all the other things. Be careful about what you think, what you drink, what you eat, and what you do. So the do is the exercise thing, and I'd love to have a little chat about exercise and losing weight and what have you. But what you're drinking is really, really important. If you're eating fresh food and what have you, and then you knock down 5 coffees, you're probably going to go in the wrong direction. Yeah. But and then when you get home, you're having 4 glasses of wine. Then again, you're eating loads of really good stuff. But then the drink that's going to have a negative impact. So I think you need to. I think, like Bren was saying, a little change in a few different areas is probably easier to maintain than having one big change. Right, this year I'm going to do X, or you know what I mean?
Yep.
I find resolutions never last beyond February. Personally, never last beyond. However, if you read something, remember when we read Shanahan? You know, we all got a little bit more fermented food into our diets. We all started going for bone broths a little bit more. I started eating more organ meat, for the vitamin D and all these kind of things. So I think making small, easy, comfortable changes is more realistic long term. And so what am I going to do this year? I've caught me. I don't know. I didn't know we were going to be doing the I can resolution thing.
Yeah, we mentioned the probiotics bit there. I am kind of thinking that people are obsessed with, I've got a sweet tooth, and people say I have a sweet tooth as if it's a genetic thing, and you're so rare in your family that you have a sweet tooth. I think the problem is if you eat a load of selection boxes and drink a lot of red wine and feed your gut flora a lot of sugar, you are going to nurture a growing body of little pathogens, essentially, that just demand more sugar. And they engineer things, and they release chemicals, and they deny you chemicals to get you to give them more sugar. So you come into January gasping for a bit of sugar. And so a great study, I said this about probiotics last time, on heavy drinkers in France, 400 of them, and they gave them a probiotic, and the ones taking a probiotic for a month, their intake of drink decreased massively compared to the ones getting the placebo. So I thought that was very interesting. And so what they were trying to show was that you might have a gut flora screaming for sugar. So when you have that glass of wine at 6 o'clock, is it the sugar you really need, or is it the wine, the effect of the wine? Probably a bit of both. So I feel that you can cheat and help yourself along by, if you feel like you are just hankering for dirt after Christmas, if you've had a bad Christmas in food respect, then you can cheat and just take a few probiotics. And I am gone back onto my probiotics now just for a week or two. I don't see any harm in that. And I have them in the fridge. Often people have their probiotics just sitting in the fridge and they don't take them. They don't finish them because, you know, Udo's comes in a big bottle. So I'm taking them for a couple of weeks. I kind of feel like I'm going to have a little cheeky reset. So that's going to help me keep off the sugar, because perhaps that might be one of the reasons why you might fail on the old glass of wine. Look, that's just what I'm doing. Not everybody has to stop drinking wine. It's just I'm just giving myself this challenge to clean myself up for a little while. But yeah,
just tell us again which ones you're using there.
I'm using Udo's is the popular brand here in Ireland at the moment. BioCult and Udo's, UDOS. They dominate Europe, those two, both of them being made in France, I think. They're fantastic, and they're freeze dried. They don't actually have to live in the fridge. If you buy them off the shelf, they don't need to obviously be in the fridge. Same with your fruit and vegetables in the supermarket. Supermarkets are experts at preserving their food. So if you buy fruit and veg from a non-refrigerated section, you know that's probably the best place to keep. I always put my carrots in the fridge, and it's not where you're supposed to put them. You're supposed to put them in the cupboard. I didn't know that, but anyway, that was the probiotic bit. So the probiotic thing is my number 2. It's like I'm going to take a cheeky little probiotic just for a week or two, because I feel like that might help me with my hankering for, like, I've used for the last month or two, I've been having a glass of wine, and that's on Tuesday night, you know, so that sets me up wrong, because then, you know, I feel like, well, sure, I had a few on Tuesday night, I can have a few on Wednesday, but that's my problem. Does anybody else have any more? I've got my long
somebody just mentioned that, coffee is good for you, and I completely agree. I think, you know, 1 or 2 cups of coffee, really good, organic, and everything else, coffee. However, which is why I said 5, excess of anything, red wine is arguably good for you, you know, if it's really dark and rich and what have you. It's high in
resveratrol.
Resveratrol, that's exactly right, and the rest. But if you have 5 of them, you're probably going 1-2 steps forward and 3 steps back. So just you know, everything has there is an equilibrium for everything.
I have another one, but inspired by Nick, which is buying better quality meat. I'm back on the meat since that Shanahan book, because I realized I had a couple of knee operations, never fed myself glucosamine, chondroitin, collagen, all this sort of stuff. Even though I'm constantly preaching about that for dogs with eating dry food that don't get any of those components. So I was saying here, I have a little number 2, buy better quality meat. So I buy a decent quality chicken. It costs about maybe 4 times more than a supermarket chicken. And okay, I realize not everyone can do that, but I eat less meat. I don't eat a whole lot of meat. I eat a bit of meat. So I get the chicken, then I make broth from the bones. I'm getting religious about that. It's getting addictive now, because I feel like I'm getting loads of value from the chicken, and then all the bits that come off that, the dog's got a day's feed and that. And also organ pills. I'm definitely going to start taking, because I can't eat organ meat, unlike Nick. When Nick says he's eating organ meat, I feel a bit jealous. And I just can't. I can't eat any of them. So I'm going to take Ancestral, is the New Zealand company, and they sell these little pills. You'll buy them on Amazon. And they do single organs, or they do a mix of 5, 6, 7 different organs in there. So I'm going to start taking them in pill form, because it's one of the 4 pillars of nutritional health, according to the absolute boss that Shanahan is, that I consider. It's not that I've read so much that I can bounce off all her ideas, but she is extremely convincing that it's nutritionally so good for you. So if you can't eat kidney because it processes wee all day, which is a ridiculous concept in my head, but that's what I'm thinking, well then these little pills. So I'm better quality meat, like eat slightly less of the crappy meat. Bad news is that Ireland is opening 100 mega farms. So the 1,000 mega farms that are in Britain, it's only so long before they're going to open now. So meat quality in Ireland is only going down. So you know, get your chicken and your eggs from any animals that run around outside, organically fed, that kind of stuff. It'd be great. Even your eggs alone, you know, if there's somebody nearby that's making. Anyway, that was my other meaty one. Yeah,
I've got one. There's a lovely company called Hunter and Gather, not Hunt. Was it
Hunter Gatherers?
Hunter and Gather. They get Icelandic lamb liver and desiccate it and put it in a capsule. Lovely. Icelandic lamb's kidney, desiccate it, put it in a capsule. Okay, and they do amazing mayonnaises, not for your dog, but mayonnaises with no rapeseed oil. Hellman's, which is a divine, heavenly made thing, is stuffed with rapeseed oil, which is a real shame because it's tasty.
No.
Incredible.
I
Sorry,
didn't
mate.
think to check. Oh, interesting. Like, is it a big component of it?
It is. It's, I don't know what percentage, but that's why it's greasy.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't even think to look. I didn't even think.
Yeah.
Oh, we go through a lot. The name of that website Nick is talking about is hunterandgatherfoods.com. Beautiful website. Ooh.
Oh, is it? Is
yeah.
it? Do you want to share your screen? Go on, share it, and I'll show the guys.
I share my screen, yeah.
I see. Sorry, I've muted myself for a while because my RAM decided to do a reboot and bleep annoyingly in the mic. But I will just say the one thing I would say, I love organ meat. I think from a point of view of being able to cook it right with the right amount of seasoning makes a big difference. And actually don't overcook it. That's always what I would say for organ meat. I don't understand needing to sort of powder it or anything like that. Oh, Connor, you took it away again.
Oh, what? What did I do? It went away.
I don't know. I shared it and...
Hang on there. I've never done this before. Here we go.
Right. Now, Connor, can I rely on you? Oh, no.
Yeah. What's going on?
I think they've got the gist. Hunter and gather, and the one that Connor was talking about was Ancestral, which is in New Zealand. And that's really fantastic, except I heard that they are very keen on glyphosate in New Zealand. In like really keen on glyphosate. Yeah, because it's very
not just
much
glyphosate. All sorts of stuff they spray across there. Yeah, well, they've got loads of toxins to kill their pests off, haven't they? They do that whole spraying the forests with orange stuff. What's the not defoliant? No,
Agent Orange.
No, not Agent Orange. No, it's can you imagine?
Oh my god!
They just to kill all of the small mammal pests and stuff. It's just
wow, I hadn't heard that.
Real horrible toxin stuff that they do some weird stuff out there, and it's just I was gobsmacked considering we think of them as almost a haven for eco-warrior stuff, and some of the things that friends of mine out down in New Zealand say that they use across massive swathes of and they just airdrop it. They literally just scatter the forests with this stuff to try and give us pest control, and it's just
wowzers. Okay.
Anyway,
there's a girl there in there's Charlotte who has a wild side. Her company, she's dehydrating British organ meats. She's freeze drying British organ meats. She's going to be the only person freeze drying British organ meats because perhaps there's somebody out there freeze drying British organ meats, but so far most of the freeze dried organ meats that are available are coming from Europe. Hopefully. So I don't know anybody that's freeze drying actual British organ meat, so that would be a good thing. So she that's coming soon for a pet near you, so that's good news. And there's a guy in Belfast who has a goat farm, and he's going to be selling raw milk. And there's a certain way to go about that because you can't advertise. It's not illegal, but you need to buy it direct from the farmer. And so that is the key bit. And so when that's available, you'll hear everybody talking about that. So I'm looking forward. He'll have that ready very, very soon. So you'll be able to buy raw goat milk. That'd be a nice addition. So yeah, the better quality meat was a big one. I have a non-animal one. Have you got any more nutritional ones before I veer off a little bit and talk about?
I'm going to say there's a famous nutritionist called Mark Hyman. And he, he's on Instagram all the time, Facebook all the time, etc. And he's really anti-milk. However, when we talk to Shanahan, as it were, she says raw milk is completely different from milk, from homogenized, pasteurized milk. There is no comparison whatsoever. So I think if you can get a hold of, and Modi supplies us with some amazing raw milk, which we give the kids. And I'm comfortable with raw milk for humans. Not too much, not too much coffee, not too much wine, not too much milk. But I think it's a really good thing. But pasteurized, homogenized milk, you might as well pour it on the garden. Yeah, for the amount of good that it's going to do. In fact, it'll probably do the garden more good than it'll do you good. So
Yeah.
I'm
Could I just say,
avoiding such
before he does that and advises you pouring it on the garden, do you know that in the range of pollutants you have, the feces that's flowing affluent off farms, okay, from the slurry tank, okay, 10 times that, and that's the effluent that's flowing off their silage, and then multiply that by 10 again, and that's the amount of milk that they pour off from excess dairy when they're cleaning the tanks out and stuff. Wow. That's how pollutant milk is into waterways. So please don't. Okay, don't do that.
I was being facetious.
I know what you mean. It's absolutely fine. I just totally get why dairy can be a thing, and that's one of my give-ups for this month. Is actually thinking now. Actually, the dairy is probably one of the things that I will go back away from. I did a great trial of using collagen mixed with a little bit of MCT oil, okay, C8, and you can use that to create a sort of artificial milk, if you like. That you can put in any coffees if you really must have milk in your coffees. But it's good as a ketogenic boost in the morning along with your smoothie, so you can use that. I'd always say, don't forget, if you're going to make your smoothies, a handful of adaptogens like walnuts or something like that. And I mean just a handful, not like half the pack. It's really good just to help you metabolize all of those antioxidants. But I would certainly say dairy. I love raw goat's milk. I've just had a set of kids born on New Year's Eve due to the fireworks. Thank you, fireworks. That's my premature birth. They were 2 weeks early, but there you go. That's what happens. So I'll hopefully be having some fresh goat's milk, unhomogenized, pasteurized, and that'll be my natural source of dairy, and we'll try and resist any of the classic stuff that's going otherwise. So
that is very good stuff. I'm just going to say, you were saying about putting soil onto the land. I just read this amazing book. It's very, very, very intense. But if you're a soil nerd, this is a great book. Apart from the New Zealand, she is on another planet as far as soil is concerned, and she actually uses that in some. She will look at the soil and measure it, and but she has used in some situations on some farms. She has sprayed a small amount of milk on the soil to get some protein and some calcium onto the soil, which is an interesting contrast to what you're saying.
I honestly think it's the fats. It's the fats. Yeah.
Yeah, sloshing tons and tons and tons of it into waterways is obviously not a good idea. But if you put it onto the soil, it's actually going to potentially work with the soil organisms and the mycelium and what have you within the soil. So there are, again, there's an equilibrium. It's very difficult to make absolutes in nature. Very difficult to make absolutes in nutrition as well, and that's something that we need to make sure that we don't go extreme with these things.
Yeah.
Methinks. Yeah,
I'd like to. I wouldn't cut out. I love cheese, which is all part of the same kind of process, and so it would be very hard for me to get away from that. But I can hear what Karen.
There are so many cheeses that you can get away from that. Though they don't use pasteurized milk, it's raw milk. There's plenty of cheeses that you can use, which are sheep's or goat's or Jersey or something like that, which is away from A1 milk. So those sort of things. So A1 casein. Yeah. So there's ways to still choose.
Yeah, no, I was actually just looking at the bottom of Karen Reed's message there, where dairy does have not a great industry, in my opinion. A lot of it from a welfare point of view. There's a few issues there, and whatever about trying to eat, well-reared chicken and that kind of thing. I purposefully don't think about that end of the things with the dairy industry, because I do find milk quite tasty, and I don't care if it's not that nutritious. I just can't help it. If the kids want milk and I can't get raw milk and it's in the fridge, I'm gonna have a glass of it now and again. I just like milk. I was reared on the stuff. But yeah, there's a few issues with the dairy farming side of things. I wonder, is there any such? What's the most cruelty-free milk you can buy? I wonder. Is it just non-animal? Is that the only way? Are they your only option? I mean, how else can you get milk?
I would say just go for really extensive. There's a guy called, well, we had him on, Patrick Holden. Have a look at him and his work. You know, I think he names all his cows, and it's very extensive, and he's very respectful with them. Did you know, by the way, read this the other day, a named cow produces more milk than a simply numbered cow.
No way.
How cool is that?
No way.
For lots of obvious reasons, but it's quite a nice little, there's some studies to show.
Yeah.
It's nice.
That's nice.
You know, and actually that's something I find with the goats. Actually, the bond that you get when you're milking the goats is totally different to those that are just out there, you know, feeding their kids, doing their own thing. It's strangely interesting how they change their attitude towards you and your relationship with them when you start milking them.
Yeah.
And you do have to name them when you're in that situation. I mean, I've not got hundreds, you know, it is literally, but you start giving them a name and you start talking to them while you're milking them. It's like, so I probably look like a total nutcase when I'm out there in the middle of a field with a little stool and a bucket.
No, I think that's completely normal. It'd be weird if you didn't name your goats and you only had 5 or 6, and you're like, why would you not name them and talk to them? Of course you're going to, you know, be living beings. I don't think that's weird at all. Somebody said there that there's a YouTube milk is addictive. There's a YouTube video on why milk is extremely tasty, because they want the kid to drink it. So I mean, it's full of sugar, isn't it? I mean, that's surely.
Well, it's going to be all the tryptophans and all of those serotonin releasing parts to it that are going to make them. You know, that's, you know.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
It grows a 40 kg.
That stuff that you say doesn't work by mouth, Connor.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen. Well, I mean, it works for little baby cows that turn from 40 kg into 400 kg into what in 6 months. I'm sure it's not going to
in the dairy.
It's not going to help my car tire I'm developing here. But
I just talking about milk. Sorry, Connor, you're wanting to jump onto the next thing, and we're staying with the thing. Dan Barber, he's written a wonderful book called The Third Plate, which is not technical and it's not intense, extreme, or anything. So that's a really, really good New Year read, guys. But he talks about he's one of the top chefs in the States, Dan Barber, and he has this place called Blue Hill at Stone Barns, just outside New York somewhere. Really fancy place, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful food, and they do single milk, I think cream or puddings or something like that, in that they'll say this pudding today is from Gertrude, and you'll notice it's more yellow than the stuff that we had yesterday from Betty, which is different. It's got more butterfat in it than from whoever, Sarah, And what he finds is that the same cows, they look pretty identical, but if they're in the field, they will graze in a completely different way. That Ermintrude will go for lots of dandelions when they're about, but Cleo doesn't really like them, and she sticks with the Timothy and the whatever it might be. And isn't that fascinating? I mean, at vet, we've Brendan and I have been to vet school, and we've been taught all this stuff, and yet you don't think actually they are going to select. I mean, Provenza talks about this as well, doesn't he? In his book, that they do have wisdom, and they have tastes, and they have different metabolism and different. There you go, Fred Provenza. And so actually, when we think about this in a holistic point of view, there's no surprise whatsoever. They are going to be individual if we allow them to be individualized. There is such a beauty and a range and a spectrum of personality and their microbiome can come out. So I think that's just a rare and beautiful observation about something as mundane as a cow.
What was it? Who was it? I think it was somebody that met Patrick Holden in a podcast, and he was bringing them out to a field of where his girls were, and he was letting them into the field, and he was trying to explain that, these 30 or 40 cows cannot wait to get into that field. He says there's plenty of grass in the field they're in, but they don't want that, do they? Because it's not the grass really they're after. First of all, that's just something you eat day to day. That's the potatoes that come with your meal, but it's not the steak, or whatever else that turns you on. And so they're waiting to get in there. And he said that each cow will go for there's high up items. He says there's 20. I just see 20 different plants in there. And initially, you're looking at grass. But if you actually listen to what he's saying, then you start to notice one or two other species, then 4 or 5, and then others are smaller than the grass. And the cows dig them all up, and they take some of the roots from some and don't take roots from others. And so the first day, you can only imagine what their milk would taste like if they're eating other. And only on day 2 they say, okay. And that's the difference of what you were saying, Nick, about whatever about grass-fed cows, then there's pasture-fed. What's the difference between pasture-fed and the other type? What was that?
Grass can be just 1 or 2 species in a lay. They'll just put timothy and ryegrass. That's it. Okay, and that would be a pasture. No, that would be a grass-fed. Yeah, because it is grass. But there's only 2. Nature doesn't do that. Nature normally does 27 different species. In every square meter, even. So that's what they've designed. For millions of years, they've designed to look after themselves and a bit of this if they need to substantiate their milk, a bit of that if they need to help their immune system, and yet we just stick them on 2 species, and then at the end of it, we put all their milk in together and go, right, there we go, and it's only 27p a litre when it leaves the farm. It's a tragedy. It's just wrong.
Yeah, it is. Spending a bit more on food, that's a resolution. I mean, we are all so used. I mean, this is easy for me to say when a lot of people don't have the cash. So I know I'm absolutely aware of that. So I don't need to say that again. But if we can, and you can afford to do it, buying in some good quality ingredients, it's just so important, because our food chain's going to bits. When you look at, I've said this about blueberries before, but it's a classic example. We expect strawberries in Ireland at Christmas time, and it's like, where do you think you're going to get strawberries? We barely have enough sun to grow them here in the sunny southeast of Ireland, and we grow some strawberries there, and yet we're getting these in wintertime. And then you get these 5 or 6 strawberries in a giant plastic box from usually Egypt or somewhere like that. They are grown in a greenhouse, or maybe not, in heavily fertilized soil, the same soil every year. They might be given nitrogen to grow them big and quick, and you bite into that strawberry and it tastes of nothing. Strawberries at Christmas time are just so disappointing. They look amazing, my God, and you bite into them and go, I'm not even going to I don't want more than 2 or 3. When have you ever stopped eating strawberries? I mean, you just want to eat them all day during the summer. So that strawberry or that blueberry or whatever you want to be eating, it differs massively from one that's been grown outside in the sunshine and good quality muck and that kind of stuff. And that's the difference between buying crappy veg and good quality veg, like heavily intensively grown carrots over and over and over and over, sticking to the same age-old George Jetson approach of throwing them nitrogen because they grow big. That's just ridiculous, as if that's the only nutrients those plants needed. So I think times are changing and people are realizing that, and the organic section of each supermarket is getting bigger and bigger, but people struggle to leap to that extra 30% for the organic food, and you kind of go, guys, something's got to pay for that. You can go for the cheaper food, but something's going to pay, and it's going to be your health over time, because you're missing these nutrients, I'm sure of it. I know we're at 1946, so I'm not going to get time to what we could do in that. What we could do it. Let's do it next. I was going to talk about this person gave me these great tips 3 or 4 years ago about when you're setting goals. Like, the problem with being kind of when you've got ideas and you might be a small business owner and you've got all the stuff that you want to do, and you find yourself running around like a headless chicken because you've got so many things to do and nothing really actually gets met. The big projects don't get over the line. This guy has a very simple process for showing you how to pick your biggest goal and getting over the line. It's very simple. So let's do that in Patreon.
Let's do that a bit on the side.
And guys, thank you very much. For those of you who haven't seen us over on Patreon, please join us over on patreon.com/rawpetmedics. We will be posting this. It will take about an hour for it to process through and then get onto Patreon. I've worked out all of the glitches now, I think, so you shouldn't get any weird fellas talking about mowers, and we will enjoy seeing you over on the other side. Look forward to next week. I think we've got a guest in. You'd written down on our Google Calendar. I'm hoping he's got a guest in. If he hasn't got a guest in, then we'll be doing something else.
Let's not announce him yet. Let's not announce him yet. That was next week. Yeah.
So great stuff. So guys, thanks so much for joining us. Hope you are, like us, managing a little bit of a detox. I think about what we're doing for the next year and eating healthily. If you want to know a little bit more, join us over on Patreon, and hopefully you'll get some other great tips there. Brilliant. See you soon.
Amazing. See you guys.
See you next week.